Thank you all for being here today with us. Thank you for those who have joined and are on time. We appreciate your presence here. So, I want to first of all just introduce myself. My name is Isaiah Green. I'm with the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. I serve as our Assistant Deputy Director and also our Central California Regional Advisor. I oversee our team of about 8 folks who are across the state of California, here to serve, here to engage, and here to support all small businesses, all 4.2 million small businesses, in whatever business venture and/or recovery act that they need. And so I want to welcome everyone to the Plan, Protect, and Recover webinar, where you will learn how to navigate insurance and business continuity before and after disaster, brought to you in collaboration with us, the Office of the California Office of Small Business Advocate, and also United Policyholders. So, just a few housekeeping rules. This is a live recording. It is a live webinar. It will be live recorded, and we do have a live translation caption option. So, if you see here on the screen, here's a quick tutorial about how to turn on your live translation option.
Buenas tardes, muchas gracias por acompañarlos. Aquí tenemos los subtítulos y traducciones en la barra de herramientas. Si gusta verlos en español, aquí puede seguir las instrucciones para verlo en español. Gracias.
Awesome. Thank you. I couldn't have said it any better myself. So, really quick, I just want to take a quick second to just help you understand why we're here today. We want to make sure that everyone who is participating, whether live or will have the opportunity to view this webinar afterwards, will really have the opportunity to understand your insurance coverage and why it is critical to step forward to building your resilience. When disaster strikes, there is no time to plan, which we saw earlier this year, January 7th, when we saw one of the biggest wildfires here in California. There's really no time to plan, only to respond. And so, unfortunately, too many of our businesses discover gaps in their coverage or face challenges in navigating claims when it's already too late. In California alone, 4.2 million small businesses power our communities and drive economic growth, accounting for 2 out of every 3 net new jobs. And that's important. These businesses are the backbone of our state's economy, and ensuring that their protection is not just important, it's essential. And that's why we're here today. We have partnered with United Policyholders to bring you an expert guide on disaster insurance preparedness and recovery. So, whether you're reviewing your current coverage, navigating a claim, or just getting started, this session is designed to provide practical tools and insights to strengthen your business's ability to face and recover from unexpected events. There will be a time for a Q&A towards the end of our webinar, so please feel free to utilize our Q&A box. If you have questions while the webinar is moving along, just drop a question in and we'll take some time either during the webinar or during that Q&A section to answer any questions you may have. And so, without further ado, I would like to introduce my amazing team, Shruti Narayan and Susanna Ramirez Munoz, who make up our Outsmart Disaster Unit, and they will be giving you a quick overview on our Outsmart Disaster Program.
Thank you, Isaiah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shruti Narayan, the Northern California Resiliency Training Coordinator.
And I'm Susanna Ramirez, also with Outsmart Disaster, and I'm the bilingual trainer here in Southern California. Today, we want to briefly introduce you to Outsmart Disaster, a program that helps small businesses prepare for any disruption.
Picture this. It's a bright day. The sun is shining through your shop windows, your doors are open, and customers are flowing in. Maybe the coffee machine is humming or the register is ringing. Sales are steady, your team is busy, and everything feels effortless. Business is smooth sailing. That's blue skies.
But skies don't always stay blue forever. Imagine this, a smoke fills the air from a wildfire nearby, or the power goes out during your busiest hour. Maybe it's not nature at all, but a cyber attack that locks you out of your own systems. Suddenly everything comes to a halt and that's gray skies.
And the truth is that shift can happen in an instant. According to FEMA, 1 in 4 businesses fails within a year of disaster, which is why we want to talk about why Outsmart Disaster wants you to prepare before it all happens. So we all talk about the big one, but for a small business owner like a cafe, the big one might just be something as simple as their espresso machine breaking down on a busy Monday morning. Disasters come in all shapes and sizes, and every one of them can shut a business down. For a small business owner, a major disaster or a disruption doesn't have to be a quake, an earthquake, a wildfire, or flood. It could be a cyber attack, a supply chain interruption, or a prolonged power outage.
Any of these events can stop revenue, close doors, and threaten livelihoods. While cities and larger organizations invest in resilient infrastructure, small businesses don't always have the same safety net. That's why Outsmart Disaster aims to prepare businesses for all hazards so they can reopen faster and keep serving their communities no matter what happens.
So why does this matter? California has 4.2 million small businesses.
And get this, 98% of them have fewer than 20 employees. That's our neighborhood restaurants, our boutiques, repair shops, the backbone of our economy.
Together, small businesses create 7.5 million jobs. That's nearly 47% of all private sector jobs in our state.
And they're job creators too. 99% of new jobs come from small businesses.
Here's one more stat. California's small businesses export $69 billion in goods every year.
That's 42% of the state's total export. Clearly, when small businesses are resilient, California's economy is also resilient.
Again, going back to the blue skies and gray skies, think of Outsmart Disaster as your umbrella. Most days you don't need it, but when the storm hits, you're glad you have it there.
It helps you plan with simple tools to build your continuity plan, protects your operations by spotting risks before they strike, recover faster within resources that minimize downtime, and stay resilient by connecting to statewide support and training.
In short, it's your business continuity kit without the guesswork.
The Outsmart Disaster Program uses a six-step method. It's broken into 9 short forms you can fill out at your own pace. You don't need to do it all at once. Start with baby steps. And here what the steps are.
Step 1, identify your risks, like checking the weather before a road trip. What use is preparation without knowing your risks, right? To prepare effectively, you need to understand the risks to your business. What types of events could interrupt your operations? How long would you be able to continue? How would it impact your revenue? So we give you resources to figure all this out.
Communications is step 2. Keep contact lists current and make a plan to stay connected with all your stakeholders, emergency personnel, employees, customers, suppliers, to name a few.
Step 3 is figuring out your operations, know your most critical processes and what's needed to keep them running. So in simple words, what brings your business the most revenue and how you can continue producing that should you have to minimize operations.
Step 4, hazard mitigation. Take preventive steps like securing equipment or backing up your files.
Insurance and finance is your 5th step. Review coverage and have funding or credit ready so you can, face an emergency. To help with this critical step about insurance is why we have United Policyholders today, so they can give us more knowledge about this.
And finally, step 6 is create and test your plan. Write step-by-step plans, train your team, and test them. Test them regularly. You want this to become a muscle memory for your team. Studies have shown that businesses who regularly practice preparedness show a 70% increase in employees' confidence during an actual disaster.
And here's the best part. Since business preparedness is not a one size fits all, the resiliency roadmap that we have on our website is customizable for your business.
Available in English and Spanish with customizable forms, as we mentioned, and they are free and accessible to everyone on our website.
Webinar recordings are also on our website and on our YouTube channel, and I'll share that with you shortly.
We do this because resilience should never be out of reach. And thank you so much. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A and we'll be sure to answer those. And you could also send us an email at our website here. And I'll get it back to Isaiah. Back to you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, team, for that information. Great stats on small businesses here in California. Please, you all take some time to visit our website to familiarize yourself with the programs that we have, especially Outsmart Disaster, to help prepare you for when disaster strikes. We don't say if, we say when. And so we want you to be ultimately prepared. And also, if you were looking to recover, we have resources available for you as well. And so I'm excited to introduce the United Policyholder Executive Director. And if you have not heard of United Policyholders, United Policyholders, has served as a knowledgeable and trustworthy 501c3, and they are experts in providing information, resources on all aspects of property insurance and claims for homes and business owners and disaster victims for over 3 decades. I am excited to introduce Amy Bach, who has been a professional insurance consumer advocate since 1985 and an attorney since 1989. She has co-founded United Policyholders in 1991 and serves as the organization's executive director and primary spokesperson, shaping and overseeing the roadmap to recovery, the roadmap to preparedness, and advocacy and action programs. The nationally recognized expert. I have to give you your flowers, Amy, so you got to just be patient with me. A nationally recognized expert on property insurance, regulation, law, and public policy matters. Amy is an official consumer representative with the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, an appointed member of the California Insurance Commissioners Smoke Claims and Rendition Task Force, and Federal Advisory Committee on Insurance of the U.S. Treasury. Bach is frequently interviewed in print and broadcast media and is the author of numerous publications, including the Disaster Recovery Handbook, Wise Up, The Savvy Consumer's Guide to Buying Insurance, and a contributor to several editions on buying your first home. I need to check out some of those publications, by the way. But Amy, it's a pleasure to have you on. It's a pleasure to collaborate with you and your team. I'm going to pass the baton to you and excited to hear more.
Thank you so much, Isaiah. And I do need to shorten that bio, but I did appreciate the flowers, as you said. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get into a slide deck that I have put together. I'm so grateful that we have connected with the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. It's a really valuable resource for all the small businesses that are out there, being a backbone of our economy and serving communities, employing people, and providing essential goods and services. And you know, one thing that we that I could say about United Policyholders, you heard we're a nonprofit, but we do partner with government agencies and other nonprofits to get our work done. One thing that we do, we keep it real because we are here to serve you, the person who has bought insurance and needs the straight scoop. We don't sell anything. You can't hire us. We're not political. And we do not accept money from insurance companies, but we do know a lot about insurance. So that's just a little bit about us and why you can trust the information that we bring to you. We have been doing the work that we do for over 3 decades. So we're going into our 35th year of service to the public. And those are the 3 programs. You already heard about me. We'll skip that. And so what I do want to reassure you that there's a lot more information in this slide deck that we're going to be able to cover in the time that we have. And so please know that you don't have to be taking notes. You can just listen. And if you want to get a copy of the slide deck after, you can email us at info@uphelp.org, and we'll put that email address in the chat for you. So please don't stress. Okay. So these are 3 publications you're going to find on our website. And so we're going to be doing just a very quick hits 2-part talk today. I'm going to be talking about the things that you want to be thinking about before you have a loss in terms of what your insurance package looks like as a small business. And then we're going to get into, well, what if you have a loss? What are some of the best practices, and what do you need to know about the claim process and how things work in the real world, not in TV land? So the new normal is today, property insurance prices are high. Availability and options are low. And that goes for homeowners and businesses across the board. A lot of businesses are scrambling because they've gotten dropped and they have to get new coverage. More businesses are having to go to the California Fair Plan. And that's a challenge because the Fair Plan coverage is expensive for what you get, and it's limited. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But again, properly insuring your business assets and operations remains critically important for both liability protection, right? That's if people sue you, and also for disaster resiliency, being able to get back to business if something knocks you down on one of those rainy days that my colleagues talked about earlier. So the third thing I want to emphasize is that good record keeping is so important for small businesses and so challenging. You know, we know a lot of small businesses, you're operating on a shoestring. Maybe you don't have a big staff. You don't have a lot of small businesses don't have the resources to have a full-time accountant or even maybe a bookkeeper. Maybe you do your own stuff. But good record keeping in terms of insurance is really important. And as is routine maintenance of your property, of your business. And doing your best to be in compliance with safety and risk reduction protocols. That will help you hold on to your insurance. Now that insurers are using technology and AI, that's one of the reasons people are getting dropped, is that they are using AI and saying, oh, wow, this is a really old building and they still have knob and tube wiring and they've had these water damage claims and all that stuff. And that's a problem for you, because that's what's causing a lot of people to have to shop while they've been insured with one company forever. They weren't thinking about it. Now you're back in the market. And so insurers are becoming more picky about older buildings, and they are being tougher on certain claims like water claims. And so it is important that if your insurance company or agent says you need to put in a moisture sensor, we'll do that. That's not that expensive. Or you need to, we need you to be keeping your inventory records in a certain way. Like, you got to comply with that stuff as best you can, because if you don't, it really can come back to bite you if you do have a claim. So your insurance package, these are the main buckets of coverage. Now, I'm not saying you have to have all of these, because you may not need them or you may not be able to afford them, but the basics are a BOP, a business owner package, and that would be your personal property. That would be all the equipment that you own, and as part of your business. Your business income, you want to insure that against business interruption. Something shuts you down, you can't operate, you're losing money, or one of your key suppliers goes out of business and you can't, for a period of time, you're losing income because of that. You want to have coverage for that. You want to have CGL, commercial general liability. That's for the lawsuits, right? That's if somebody slips and falls or they sue you for whatever. Those are kind of those are the key pieces. And then if you do events, if you can afford it, you want event cancellation coverage. And then depending on the type of business and the assets, you may need some specialty coverages, boiler and machine. You may need to schedule some things. And it's really, these days, it's really important to have cyber liability if you are have a customer database and you are retaining customer information. It used to be that you would have some of that coverage under your commercial general liability or your business personal property, but insurers have added a lot of fine print, and so now really having a separate cyber policy is pretty much critical. Some of the other things you may want to look at, it would be having a key employee coverage in case your business really depends heavily on one person. Flood or earthquake. Flood would be if you're anywhere near a body of water, or if you're at the base of a mountain or a steep area where there could be flooding or where there has been flooding. And of course, earthquake. Here we are in California. They are a fact of life. Those things can be expensive depending on where you're located and what your business assets are. And our advice is always just get a quote before you make a decision, right? So there's a lot of different types of business interruption coverage. There's all this. I'm not going to go into all these things, but the bottom line is, the more coverage you can afford, the safer you'll be. But at the end of the day, you're a small business. Your best bet is to find a really good agent, like an agent who is has been in the business for a while, is adapting to the new normal, specializes in insuring small businesses, and gives you that feeling of trust. And you can get that through word of mouth, trial and error. But really navigating the insurance world on your own as a small business is tricky without a professional. So those are just some of the things. Now, what are some of the details that can matter a lot? What are your policy limits, the dollar amounts? What are the exclusions? What are the conditions? These are the things that you want to be talking to your agent about, and always taking notes as you go, right? So that you write down when you say, are you sure this is going to be enough? And they say, yes, you want to write that down. The name of the person who said it, the date they said it, and you want to keep those notes, take a picture of it with your phone, send it to the cloud so that you have that confirmation if, God forbid, you have a loss, that your agent and insurer assured you that you did have enough coverage. There's something called a co-insurance penalty that basically says if you haven't adequately insured your property, then the insurer may not pay the full loss. And if you are with the FAIR plan and you have a fairly high value business, that can be a challenge. But the FAIR plan limits have now been increased to up to 20 million per location. So that may help you to avoid a co-insurance penalty. Is the coverage, what kind of coverage is it? There are two main kinds. Replacement cost value, that is what it would cost you now to replace, buy it now. Or actual cash value depreciated. So that would be we call it sometimes the Craigslist price, right? What would you have been able to sell that asset for the day before the loss, right? So that's depreciated. So ACV is cheaper because it's thinner coverage, it's less. So you want to avoid ACV if you can. But if money is just the challenge and you're doing the best you can, having ACV is better than having no coverage. You want to know, how long will my coverage for business interruption last if my operations are shut down for some reason? And then you want to ask about things like glass breakage, because a lot of policies have exclusions for that, but you can buy it back and it's usually not that expensive. Code upgrades. So if you have to make repairs and rebuild after a loss, you've got to make improvements to comply with current building codes, well, then you want to have code upgrade coverage. Sometimes it's called building law and ordinance or building code. Again, it's something that should be in your package. If your agent is good, they're going to recommend it automatically, but you want to ask about it just to be sure, and you want to keep those notes. Same thing with sewer and drain backup. Insurers have gotten very aggressive with their fine print in the policies about water claims. They're paranoid about them. They're trying to limit their exposure. And so you want to ask, what kind of limits are there in this policy for water damage? And then what about sewer and drain backup? Because again, you can buy those coverages as an add-on, and it might be cheaper than you think, but it's the most important thing is that you know where your holes are going in, so that if you have a loss, you know, you already kind of, well, all right, we know what's not going to be covered, or we've taken steps, we've put sandbags in, or whatever it is that you can do to try to minimize your losses. Because again, insurers, they're paying a lot of attention. If there's a leak, they want to know how long was it leaking. And a lot of policies say if it was leaking for any significant period of time, they're not going to pay. They're going to say that was continuous and repeated seepage and leakage. We don't pay unless it's sudden and accidental. So you can't think about your insurance as a maintenance thing. Oh, well, I'm not going to deal with it, and if I have a loss, then the insurer is going to pay for it. That logic is not working as well as it used to because of technology, because insurers have a lot more knowledge now about what the condition of your property is or was before the loss. Okay, so what are some of the post-loss coverage gaps that people face? The insurer says there's no physical damage. That's what we had. That's the problem that we had with COVID. They said the virus may have caused you to not be able to be open or serve customers, but it didn't break anything, was kind of the logic that the insurers said, right? It didn't cause physical damage. Unfortunately, a lot of courts bought that argument. Our organization fought for 3 years in court for small businesses, big businesses, and it was a tough road. So you need to know, and it's a similar argument they're making with the LA wildfire claims with smoke. The smoke didn't cause a permanent damage. It can be cleaned, therefore we don't owe. Inadequate record keeping to justify destroyed assets, big problem for small businesses. That's why I emphasized earlier, really, even if all you do is take a cell phone and put it on video and walk around your place of business, in the back, in the storage room, in the basement, wherever you have property stored, and you narrate, here's this, here's that, and then you keep that video and you send it to the cloud, even that would help you with proving up a claim if you have one, right? Another problem people have, limited or no coverage. We talked about water. If you don't have earthquake coverage, then you're out of luck there. Same thing with flood. Inadequate limits, always a chronic problem, right? Under insurance. And then coverage for smoke damage remediation. Now, I'm talking about these problems. Well, how do I avoid them? The only real way to avoid these gaps is to work with your agent and insurer as best you can by asking those questions. What about this? And what about that? What if there's a burst pipe? What if there's a civil authority order where again, like we had with COVID, where the local government says you cannot open your doors. Is there coverage for these type of things? The smoke damage is a fight that's going on and going to be going for a while. But all you can do is your best to try to know what you're covered for and where your holes are. So Isaiah, I've got about another 10 minutes. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, feel free to poke me, but I'm doing my best to keep my
You're doing
eye
awesome.
on.
Keep going. You're doing
Okay,
great.
great. Okay, so claim guidance. This is just the basics, right? If you do have a loss, you want to start by knowing what your policy says, right? So make sure that the policy documents that you have are current and complete. If they're not, you ask the insurer to get you the current, complete copy of all of your insurance. For the commercial, it's often a package with pieces. You want all the pieces. If you're having trouble getting them to give that to you, then you can go to the Department of Insurance. I will give you that for that free number in a minute. So you want to start from a place of knowledge, right? What you're covered for. And that can be tricky. Even judges get confused by what's in an insurance policy. So you just do your best and get help to read it. Focus on inventorying and valuing all the business property that was damaged or destroyed, plus your lost income. You can use what the insurance company's people put together, right? They'll bring in their own experts, but you really want to, we say trust but verify. So add or correct their work as needed, because the vendors that make their living working for insurance companies like the Serve Pros and the and the insurance friendly contractors, they're going to say what they're going to work within whatever parameter the insurance company told them. Maybe the insurance company said this is all we pay per square foot. Well, you want to get your own independent estimates, right? Keep a record of daily activity, document, be that nerdy nerd that writes everything down every day, who you talk to, phone number, all that stuff. And then, be the not be informed, about your rights. California has more laws and regulations to protect consumers, I think, than any other state. And you can find out what those rules are through our website and some of the references I'm giving you today. And then you can seek out the right professional help and if you need it, right? We're here as a DIY, do it yourself help source, right? We will give you the information. We try to boil it down simple so you can use it as a regular, not an insurance expert. But sometimes you do need to pay somebody on a commercial claim or even just a home loss claim. Maybe you need a forensic accountant to come and reconstruct your profit and loss records. Maybe you need a public adjuster because you're trying to run your business and you don't have all day to be on the phone arguing with an insurance adjuster or meeting with them, 5 times. Maybe you need somebody to be your representative. That's what a public adjuster could do. If you have a legal issue, there are policyholder attorneys. And then there are people that come in that are board up contractors, people that will, if you've had a fire or you've had a break-in, that will come in and, of course, replace the glass and do the board up and do the water, drying out, installing blowers, all that. Very often your insurance company will bring somebody in quickly to do that, and that's fine if they do. You just need to keep an eye on the quality of their work, and then get an independent expert where needed. So each claim is different. How yours will be handled really depends heavily on the wording of your package, your policy, and then the personality and the training level of the adjuster assigned to your claim. You can't control that. If you get in with an adjuster that's just really combative and treating you like you're trying to cheat them, unfairly, being adversarial, not being cooperative and helpful, which is their job, you can request a different adjuster. So the code, I said, California has all these rules. Your insurance company has legally obligated to promptly, fairly, and thoroughly investigate your claim. There are deadlines for them. They're supposed to advance funds that are clearly owed. Again, deadlines. They're only supposed to require you to gather a reasonable amount of documentation. They're not allowed to harass you and ask you to submit the same thing over and over. And they need to work with you to determine the amount of your business losses, right? This is where you'll find information about your legal rights. And just, because we are short on time here and we're not going to have time to go through all the the details on business interruption coverage, but I do have a whole bunch of slides on it that you can certainly look at after if you need them. But it's important that I give you the state of mind information. So recognize reality. When it comes to insurance claims, ads are ads. All that, you're in good hands and good neighbor, those are ads. Your insurer is a for-profit company motivated to limit payouts. So you really need to think of your claim as a business transaction. You're a business person, so you understand that. Document like mad, as I've been saying. You get more flies with honey, but you don't want to be a pushover. So be politely assertive. Stand up for yourself. The squeaky wheel gets paid. Use what we offer, and then use the free help that's available from the California Department of Insurance. So we're going to go through these very quickly. This is just going to be a Cliff Notes speed dating here. So this is how your typical policy will read on business property, income and interruption. Lost property and earnings are treated separately. Okay. So a big deal with business claims is, what is the period of restoration? How long should it take you to get back on your feet and back in business? And then there's that thing I was talking about with COVID and, and smoke. Insurers say there has to be direct physical loss, physical damage, right? And that triggered that business interruption. The loss has to be related to a shutdown and be related to a loss triggering event, right? So the period of restoration can be a tug of war, right? But as long as you are acting diligently and doing your best to try to get things moving again, then there's not always a very clear set period of restoration. Okay. Another question I think people struggle with is gross or net, right? Lost profits or lost revenues. So obviously you're going to need to deduct your recurring expenses from your profits, but that's something that you work through, right? CGL, that's the lawsuit coverage. That's pretty straightforward. What matters there are the limits. How much would you have to pay for your defense if you get sued or to settle? So it's all about your limits there. Proof commonly required after a loss. These are the things: your financial records, your bills, deeds, contracts, budgeting, marketing records, etc. They're going to be looking at net income, net loss, right? Net income, net of expenses. Extra expense coverage is an option that you can buy and should buy if you can afford it, right? So that's expenses you incur to continue or resume operations and avoid more losses on top of the loss that started things, right? That would be your temporary, that would be your bobbing and weaving that you did during COVID, to start doing things virtually or, do takeout, what have you. Common extra expenses would be temporary location, facilities, compliance, emergency permits, all those things. And then they will talk about if you do bob and weave and you figure out another way to keep going while you're getting back on your feet from whatever damaged your property, if you're making money, of course, they're going to deduct that from your overall loss. So just a few more things. Don't guesstimate the value, document it of what you lost or what was damaged. All right. We said trust but verify that whoever they bring in, give them a chance to do the right thing, but understand that that's where the vendor derives their income. That's where from the insurance company. So you want to get another opinion, right? Just a couple of the common problems: policy language that limits coverage, deadlines. We really went into a lot of this already. You need to be cooperative and you need to document that you're being cooperative. So, the email goes out from you. This will confirm that I gave you this and that. You're writing to the insurance adjuster because that's important that you be cooperating, right? Give your insurer and adjuster a chance to do the right thing. But like I said, don't be a pushover. Get help when you need it. So, having evidence is the most important thing, right? Plans, records, invoices if your place has been destroyed. All these different types of sources of proof will help you. Same thing with your business property. If you don't have really great records, and you have to reconstruct them, sometimes your suppliers can help with that, your credit card statements, all that sort of thing. All right. Well, again, I talked to how important it is to have the right agent. There are two kinds of agents: captive, they only can sell you one product, or independent, they can sell you a bunch of different insurance products. If you have a relationship with a captive agent and you trust them, then fine. But if you don't, an independent agent is going to give you more choices. Okay, we're not going to have time now to get into all the details of of what expenses you might need to document and all that stuff, and if you have seasonality adjustments, but all of that is in the deck, and you're welcome to request that from us. On smoke, that's a whole challenge in and of itself. We offer best practices guidance on our website. But the main thing is you really got to have your place tested, ideally before it gets cleaned, so that you know what you're solving for. This is the toll-free number for the California DOI. They have a hotline. Their job is to help people, consumers, resolve issues, business or personal. These are the types of experts that you can hire if you hit a wall. This is the professional help directory that we offer at our website. We've got attorneys, public adjusters. It's a place to start. These are entities that support our organization. We don't warrant their work, but they recognize the value of ours, and so we identify them. I want to thank you all for your attention. I want to thank our friends at the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. And here's the email address for getting a copy of this deck, as well as our website. Thank you so much again for your attention to this dry but very important topic.
No, Amy, that was not dry at all. That was very important. It was very fruitful. I think one of the things that I really appreciated about your presentation and about United Policyholders, that it's a neutral party, right? That you mentioned your job and you all sole responsibility is to support and help small businesses make sure that they have the access to the resources and the information that they need in order to be successful. And document is something that I heard throughout the thread of your presentation. And so definitely appreciate all of the valuable information. Very, very fruitful. We do have a few questions. I think we have about 15 minutes remaining on our call. I do have a few questions that I'd like to ask. Some of the questions that as I was down in Los Angeles during the January 7th wildfires. Uh, Curious to know what common gaps do you often notice that small businesses overlook? Um, and what do you recommend small businesses look into when planning for disasters?
So very common is that people have not been keeping good records, and so then they're just tearing their hair out in their traumatized state, trying to reconstruct. So being a little bit, extra, I don't want to say anal retentive, but being that, like, just making sure you've got records and that they are stored off site. So if there's a fire, you can still access them. That's a big one. Another one is, code upgrade coverage, where people don't have that and they have to make improvements to get a permit for the repairs and all that. It's really, generally, it's not going to be that expensive, and I don't know why any agent would not recommend it, but some agents are pretty, some are better than others. So those are two areas, and then just not having enough limits for the value of your property, because it hasn't kept up with inflation, with the cost of inflation, and prices, are, everything's more expensive today, right?
Correct.
Paying a contractor, the cost of building materials, it's all more expensive than it had been, especially with the tariffs and
Correct.
some of the.
I think that's a good point, and a segue into my next question, because when we're talking about small businesses being able to locate the proper insurance, what resources do you see are available to help small businesses understand and compare a lot of the insurance options that are available?
Well, certainly our website is a place to poke around. We have quite a bit on there. We have an article that was written by a public adjuster, sort of hindsight, how his clients struggle when they don't have enough insurance and where those holes are. But a lot of so there's us. There is your office,
Yes,
it's a great resource. I mean,
absolutely.
getting people to, think about things they don't want to think about, right? That's why we all still live in California, even though people say, oh, the big one, it's not if, but when, right? Well, you put these things out of your mind, and part of our job here is to remind people that you really shouldn't put this out of your mind, and
Mm-hmm.
find. And I think a lot of people are like, they'll go to the agent that's on the corner, or they'll go to the agent that their cousin recommended. But if that person doesn't specialize in insuring small businesses, mm, you
Good
know
point. Yeah, great point. Great point. As we were doing a lot of homework and doing a lot of research, again earlier this year, you saw a lot of small businesses really either one not understanding their coverage, or really not having the proper coverage,
yeah.
especially post. I know we talked a lot about preparedness today, but when it comes to recovery, what should small businesses just do immediately after disaster to strengthen insurance claims?
Take a lot of pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, take a lot of pictures of the condition of your property, if as soon as it's safe,
Mhm.
to do that. And then, start gathering your documentation. Start that journal. And then, look, most, if you see like most insurance companies and even some agencies will say, oh, the first thing to do is to notify your insurer. And we have a little bit of a different message, Isaiah. We say, take a moment here, because if
Mm,
it's a small claim, you're much better off paying it out of pocket than putting it in and having it
mm,
go on your record, for two reasons. One, it may be below your deductible anyway, so they may not even going to pay it, but
mm,
then it's on your record anyway. But also because, again, this is so unfair to consumers, but it is what it is. Insurers just have so much information now about there's something called the Clue database, where, like, even if you filed a claim and you were insured with, Farmers, for example, but you want to switch over to State Farm can look in this Clue database and see what claims you filed with Farmers. So you can't
wow.
hide from your claim history. So you want to keep it as clean as you can, because that's gonna put you in the lower risk, lower price
Mhm,
category, for coverage, and it's just smart. So again, if it's a big claim and there's no question, yes, call your insurance company right away, get them out. But if it's a small claim, give it a think and
mm.
check your deductible, because if you're not going to get paid for it anyway, there's no point in putting it in.
Wow, that's the first time I've heard that. So that's really good information. Really good information.
I mean, let me add though, because I am a
Absolutely.
lawyer. If anyone's injured at all in the situation, then you have to put your insurer on notice right away.
Awesome. Thank you for that follow up. So, last question, and please feel free. I know we have a few attendees here, and if you're watching this after the recording, we do have a space where on our website you can ask questions. Feel free to hit a link, and we'll make sure we provide that for you all. If you miss it today, we still want to follow up with your questions and make sure that we answer anything that we possibly can, because we want you to be prepared and also have the resources available, the information and the knowledge to be able to recover efficiently, effectively, and on point. And so I guess my last question would be for you, Amy. Is there any last sort of words of wisdom or advice for those who are trying to navigate this confusing language of insurance, those who may have been devastated by some sort of disaster, and for those who may not, or may be in the position of preparing for potential disaster? Any final words of wisdom there?
So, your agent doesn't have to be in your neighborhood, you can use an agent that's in another area. It's so important that the agent have the right personality, that they not be just, cashing the check and checking the box, that they really spend some time with you. So that's the sign. If the agent wants to spend, and this is my message to the viewers of small businesses out there: spend some time on insurance in advance, and don't just, I know it's not no one's favorite topic, But, you know, like, make sure you pay attention. Pull that policy out, go over it with the agent, ask those questions and keep those notes in advance of a loss. It's going to really make a difference for you. Because if you just pay that premium, you stick it in a drawer, you never think about it, chances are you're going to be underinsured and you're going to be scrambling to have the kind of records that are going to help you get a claim paid quickly and fairly.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And everyone, please take heed to this information. Again, we saw January 7th, and I use that as our primary example because we just had a fire here in the Central Valley in Calaveras as well, that affected small businesses, and homes and individuals in that community as well. And there have been a plethora of different natural disasters. And again, we talk about disasters not just as natural disasters, but any disruption to your business. We want to make sure that you are prepared to be able to navigate these situations and also have the access, the information, and the individuals, the organizations to be able to also help you recover. And so, with that, I want to say thank you, Amy, and you and your team at United Policyholders. I want to say thank you to my team here at Cal OSBA for coordinating and facilitating and putting this fruitful, resourceful, informational webinar together. I look forward to doing more with you and United Policyholders to help out all 4.2 million small businesses across the state of California, not only just to be prepared, but to be ultimately prepared for any disruption that may navigate. And we say it's not if, it's about when. And so we know that this is important. And so, again, thank you to all our viewers who participated in person. Again, thank you to all those who are going to be watching this at some point. Please feel free to navigate our websites, www.uphelp.org, and also Cal OSBA at ca.gov. Feel free to reach out. Again, Amy, thank you so much, and we look forward to doing this again soon.
Thank you so much, Isaiah, Susanna, and Shruti. It's just been a pleasure to work with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you.